just being mindful of time, is introduce Greg Crowhurst. So initially, we thought you may be unable to join us, Greg. It's my first time meeting you, and I'm very glad that you could come online to share your experience. I'll briefly introduce you. So Greg joins us tonight with over 30 years of experience, lived experience, caring for his wife full-time, Linda, who has severe ME. I wanted to give you an opportunity as well, Greg, to I guess share some of your knowledge and insights first, and then I do have a pre-recorded video that you've prepared as well that I'll share shortly. But is there anything in particular you wanted to say?
Oh, hello. It's I only just dropped in. It's morning here, and my wife's just got up, so I can't stay too long. I'm afraid. But I just dropped in just to see everybody and to say hello. Um, my my heart goes out to you in Australia. Having heard that last presentation, it's really affected me. How hard it is for the most ill to get healthcare. They have to go through this catch-22 situation, this impossible situation, just to try and see a doctor. And for people at this level of illness, I just can't imagine how people are coping with that or dealing with that. It worries me when people use terms like bedbound and things like that. But my wife is so ill that she can't even go to bed, really. Going to bed makes her worse. We need to understand just how ill people really are. What worries my concerns about the telly service, the Zoom kind of thing, is the symptoms in severe ME are so hard to express. It's almost impossible to share your experience. It's on so many levels of illness and hypersensitivities. Right now, my wife can't cope if I scratch my head. She can't cope if I even come down the stairs and make the slightest noise. That will destroy her whole day. How do you convey that type of experience? And also, how do you talk to somebody on a screen when you're light sensitive, when you're sound sensitive? So all these things. So severe. It was wonderful to hear that acknowledgement of how terrible things are in severe ME and how impossible it is. I hope you enjoy my video presentation. I wish I could give a whole presentation here. I can't, because like I said, it's early morning here. I've got to help Linda have breakfast and to eat and just to get going. But send all my love to you all and solidarity. And it's fantastic you're doing this. It's fantastic you're thinking of telemedicine and you're thinking of innovative ways to reach the most ill, the people who are in so much suffering. 32 years my wife's been like this. 32 years of never ending suffering, and it just gets worse and it just gets worse and it just gets worse. Maybe through what you're doing, maybe other people won't have to go through 32 years of that. And bless you all. I'd better go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Greg.
very much.
Oh no, thank you. Good luck. I better go.
Thank you. Okay, what I will do now is share my screen and then we'll share Greg's video. One moment.
Hello, my name's Greg Crowhurst. I am so sorry I can't, I'm not in a position to do a formal presentation things are very difficult here. But I'm so pleased to have been asked by ME Group Australia to say something about severe ME. I'm very concerned that, from what Rachel tells me, there is no group representing the most severely ill in Australia. Honestly, if it hadn't been for the 25% group in this country, I'm not sure how I would have coped, especially in the early days. There is so little understanding of severe and very severe myalgic encephalomyelitis. I would go so far as to say this: I'm not convinced that the mainstream charities would necessarily have the expertise and the knowledge and the skill to know even how to approach someone at this level of illness. Okay, let's see if I can take you on a journey. The year is 2006. That was the year, I believe, that Twitter was launched. I'd been caring full-time, day and night for my wife for over 10 years, very much living in isolation and poverty. I managed to find a shirt that I could wear, and I was sitting nervously on the embankment outside the Houses of Parliament, waiting to go in to talk to them about people with severe and very severe ME. I was there on representing the 25% severe ME group, and other charities were there as well. So in I went, and I believe I was the first person ever to show a video in Parliament illustrating the suffering of people with severe ME. I was certainly the first to pull out a box of tissues in front of all these MPs, and I called this box of tissues the tissues of lies, and each tissue had a lie written on it. You know, all this stuff about ME's all in your head, you just got to change your thoughts, and there's nothing really wrong with people. We don't need to worry about physiology and understanding symptoms, all that stuff. All that people need is to exercise and pace themselves, and they'll get well. All these lies, and there was a lot more than that, I flung up in the air, because after all these years of isolation, I felt very strongly about this issue, and I still do. So that was my presentation at Parliament. Now, that was also the year that Stonebird, our website, was launched. I taught myself web design, coding, JavaScript, HTML and CSS to be able to do that. I was so determined. I was always been determined that if we're going to suffer here, we're not going to suffer silently. And if we're going to have to put up with all this nonsense, well, people are going to hear about it. The year before that, I published an article called Out of the Shadows in the Nursing Standard. That's a nursing journal here in the UK. One of the pathways we've followed since I published this article is investigating paralysis in severe, very severe ME. We talk about paralysis in here, and we've never understood, given the emphasis on paralysis by the early writers, Ramsay, Atkinson, people like that. In fact, ME was once called a paralytic disease. Why there's been relatively little focus on paralysis in myalgic encephalomyelitis. And in fact, when we started looking into it, we were shocked by how in other diseases paralysis is taken very seriously indeed. But in ME, good luck finding anyone even talking about it, like I said. Now, this is all too big a subject for me to deal with in the context of this presentation. But we have written extensively on this, and I would really encourage you to, really encourage you to have a look at it, because our own research has shown just how common this seems to be amongst people with severe, very severe ME. So I'm very proud of the work, especially how much my wife Linda has done to investigate and study paralysis. Because let's stand back for a minute and think about this, the elephant in the room. Nobody can say what myalgic encephalomyelitis is. And that's terrible, because that means that no one can say what is wrong with them. And we desperately need a definition of myalgic encephalomyelitis. Now, I will never use the term ME/CFS, because all that means is that ME is being drowned more and more in a sea of disparate illnesses, and it's getting harder and harder and harder to make sense of what on earth ME is supposed to mean. Here's a diagram that I had a go at drawing to try and show why I never use the term ME/CFS and why the term ME/CFS is so harmful. The other thing I will not do is talk about people with ME. All I think you can say is that people diagnosed with myalgic encephalomyelitis, because given we're not sure on earth what that means, we just don't know what's wrong with people. And we come back to the fact that if there's paralysis involved, as we show in our research, maybe that either represents a comorbidity which should be investigated, or maybe that could be the cause of the person's symptoms. For example, periodic paralysis, hemiplegic migraine with aurum. And people could be really helped. Paralysis must not be ignored. It's a significant symptom that must be followed up on, investigated. And who knows what life-changing help or insight could come from that, or even life-saving. There's a couple of things I meant to say about paralysis, the issue of paralysis in severe, very severe ME. If only it was just as simple as getting it investigated. That is actually much harder than it sounds, because of the prejudice surrounding an ME diagnosis label. It can be, with that label, it can be quite hard to even get what you're experiencing recognised as paralysis, never mind get it investigated or diagnosed. And the other issue I do need to mention here is you must be very careful, because with an ME diagnosis and you're trying to investigate paralysis, you could be given an FND, functional neurological disorder diagnosis, which basically is a psychiatric disorder, and it's not what you want. We have learned that you've got to be very clear, very assertive. You've got to be your own advocate when you're investigating paralysis, and it can be helpful to keep a journal of your symptoms. Somehow you've got to get people to look beyond the ME label and investigate their paralysis. Who can begin to number the losses that people diagnosed with severe and very severe ME and those who care for them experience? Not being able to go anywhere, to do all the things people take for granted, walks by the sea, going to concerts, weddings, staying in touch with family, being with parents when they're dying, going to funerals. So much we could do, but we don't, and very much Linda lives her life in one room. Here where we live is an area of absolute outstanding natural beauty, but it's not for Linda. So how do you make sense of this? How do you get through this? And not only get through, but how do you not fall into despair? In fact, how do you hold on to hope? How do you grow? I'm so deeply grateful that it's on so many levels and in so many ways I've grown immeasurably, I think, as a person through this. And that's because we find a way through, and I'd like to share that with you here. We call it the moment approach because that stands for maximizing the opportunity to meet need tenderly. Now that's not just some cute saying we came up with. Honestly, it's a lifeline. It is to me. If I get things wrong, and we do struggle, the question I always have to come back to is this: did I really maximize that opportunity to be with Linda, or was I preoccupied with something else? Look, I've got all these guitars here and keyboards. I'm a musician. If I'm in the middle of writing a song or trying to work out a piece on the guitar, I could be distracted, or I could be dealing with stuff that's difficult for me and going through my own issues. And central to the moment approach is you have to be 100% focused on the person you're with, because in severe, very severe ME, you cannot afford to get it wrong. Let's start with the basics of the moment approach, and that is respect. That's your core fundamental value. We say on Stonebird, no matter what, if you can't move or speak or do anything, you are precious and your presence matters. Your fundamental starting point is that the person you are going to be with is of infinite value and is equal to you in every way. If you go in there thinking on some level that this person is just deconditioned and just needs to change their thoughts, if you don't go in absolutely respecting, without question, that the person diagnosed with severe, very severe ME is suffering from a very real, complex, multi-systemic physical disease, you're going to mess up. And not just mess up, you're going to do untold damage and harm. So that's where the moment approach, that's where it starts with respect. And it's not just respect, but a commitment to get it right, and a willingness to keep growing and learning and not getting stuck, and an ability to be flexible beyond belief. If something's not working, to be able to change, do something different. You've got to be so creative. You've got to know, pick up the clues, know when maybe the person, it's too much for the person. Maybe the person just can't cope with you being there. Maybe you scratching your head or rubbing your finger is just absolutely tormenting the person beyond description. You need to be the ability and the awareness to pick up on these things and change. And above all, the moment approach is about understanding as much as you can the symptom experience the person is going through. So you need to know as much as you can about that. You know, if the person is perfume chemical sensitive, you're going to make very, very sure you're not going to go anywhere near them with aftershave or perfume on, or even fabric conditioner on your clothes. If they're noise sensitive, you're going to be very, very aware of your tone of voice. If they're movement sensitive, you're going to be very careful indeed about making any movement that the person is not expecting. All of this, of course, is rooted in compassion for the person. It breaks my heart when I see Linda suffering, that even now, after all this time, I don't even begin to grasp the breadth and the depth of what she goes through. All I know is that this is the one I love, and she is an indescribable torment. And from compassion flows empathy, and out of empathy, love. I am very blessed. We're both very blessed. The love that we experience, I'm not sure many get to know. So that, in a nutshell, a very brief nutshell, is the moment approach. There is much, much more about this that we have published. We've made videos and we've written quite a few leaflets on the moment approach, and I will include all the links in the information pack I'm going to give you. I would also urge you, I recently made my most popular book, More Notes for Carers, available for free. So if you can't get hold of a copy of that, because the moment approach is so important yet so deep, I would urge you to read the chapter on the moment approach in that book. Just as a very quick aside, the theoretical approach behind the moment approach is rooted, because my wife is a qualified counsellor, a person-centred counsellor, it's rooted very strongly in Rogerian, the Rogerian approach, which is unconditional valuing. It's also rooted in experiential learning. I've had a lifelong passion for experiential learning from one's experience, and always taking back one's power, and learning and questioning and growing. This is deep stuff. Okay, that's been the moment approach. Thanks. Okay, I could go on for ages. Got to stop here. I hope this has been helpful, made some kind of sense. I would just say this, from all these years, all we've been through, I would say this, the human spirit, the power of love is much, much, much greater than all the suffering. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen, and good luck to you in Australia. Thanks.
Okay. So we don't have Greg anymore for questions, but I just wanted to open the floor still to see if there were any comments or insights anyone wanted to offer.
I think it's useful for people to know that the book, this, being a carer for severe ME, also what Greg didn't really touch on much at all, is full of concrete things that you can do, how you can make a room safer and more comfortable for someone with severe ME, what you can do about food, what you can do about clothing, what you can do about everything. Because Greg's background is a nurse. He's an award-winning nurse. And he, what we heard today was extraordinary, but his book also contains really, really practical tips. You can just read a chapter and go, oh, yes, I could do that, So I absolutely endorse this book. Yeah.
Thank you. Greg has kindly shared a set of resources as well, so we will make that available with the video link when it's shared. Thank you. Were there any other comments or insights people wanted to share? I did want to add something, I guess, from a physiology basis. What Greg is saying is very valid as well. Things like noises, abrupt movements, chemicals, fragrances, etc., they're all perceived as very threatening to the body for people living with ME. And it's not conscious, it is very a subconscious, innate response to try and protect the person from these perceived threats in the environment. So I think it would be valuable to integrate his practices into our work as well.
Yeah, we have in South Australia, it started with a therapist who had bought herself a parasim, a transauricular vagus nerve stimulation device. And her first recording that she did for us, her first presentation, she focused quite clearly on the cell danger response, the what is happening in our bodies when our body feels threatened, regardless of what our mind is thinking. When our body goes, I'm in danger now. What's happening in our cells, and how shifting into the parasympathetic mode in our nervous system can calm some of that and reduce some of the impact. So it's actually one of the few therapies we have that directly addresses ME/CFS. Yeah, we need to take what we can get because we don't have a lot.
Yeah. No, agree. And yeah, minimizing threats in the environment, or I guess perceived threats to the nervous system and the immune system, is very important in helping manage ME. What we'll do is, if there weren't any other comments people wanted to put forward, I do want to sincerely thank everyone for joining tonight.